My apologies for any noise at the beginning of this. I have not learned how to edit it out. This talk is titled Meaning is a Psychological Value State of Being and the Singularities' Influence upon Humanity. I do wonder whether I should title it Meaning as rather than Meaning is a Psychological Value State, but I'll leave that for the experts to decide. 3 words, and my definition used throughout this paper are: what is a single compound word? Excuse me. Which means what was in the past, what is now in the present, what will be in the future, an unknown completeness, only partially known, but something we delude ourselves we know better than we do. This is compared to what is, 2 words in regular use that mean that which is current, that which current attention is paid to. The 3rd word is singularity, that from which the universe and its content emerge from, with no good reason to be convinced there is only one singularity. Apparent to me, although your understanding and interpretation may differ, because of truth's ambiguity, humanity requires constant truth-seeking of the best values and meaning that serve self, other, and everything that is current and everything which will be in the future, while evaluating its past to the best possible degree. Much of our understanding are at best tacit, ineffable, only partially or totally subliminally understood, often taken for granted as understood when it is not. Yet we generally function as humans have for untold generations. Subjective and objective truth, or in other words, solid truth and opinionated truth, along with value, understandings, beliefs, and our very knowings, skate on the foundation of illusion and faulty conclusions. These conclusions are based on a constructed sense of reality, where the first principle of physicality is only assumed, even though the assumed smallest particle keeps getting smaller and smaller as we understand it to be. Our thinking has the subjective and objective swapping roles in our thinking without our awareness as we make sense of our senses through our cognitive processing. This confusion, along with our conclusions becoming solidified in our thinking, once we accept them as fact for our further thinking, this causes resistance to changing our framing of reality, because revision of an accepted fact requires more effort than the simple acceptance of an established fact, thus creating resistance to change, even if one prides oneself on the willingness to change beliefs. After having lived a life of wonderment and having observed myself and others make conclusions, many of which are proven to be wrong in hindsight, my current understanding is meaning is the contribution that each consciousness produces into the world through its interaction with what is. And the understanding and interpretation of this interaction is what consciousness values most. Written within each conscious embodiment, because apparently but debatably, a consciousness requires a body to exist in our world. There are incomplete instructions, currently known as keys, that are embedded within the combination of the body and consciousness. The incompleteness of such instructions are especially noticeable in the human species. Insects and other animals seem more self-contained in deciding upon their next actions, and plants even more so are well equipped. These genetic instructions are how this embodied in consciousness needs to react to the environment it emerges into, enabling its survival and procreation. These instructions are based on the evidence of the diverse range. I'll read that again. These instructions are based on experience of the diverse lineage that the current specimen emerged from. While the genetic and instinctual instructions are mainly based on the requirements for the survival of the species, they will be combined by unknown means with the experience of each current individual experience of living, then passed on to any offspring reproduced to become, to some degree and by some means. Also within each individual of a species, this incomplete genetic instruction set is also utilized in combination with the meanings and values co-created through the interaction between the environment and each individualized consciousness, powering the action decisions of each individual entity of combined body and consciousness. Further interaction between other individual conscious living beings go on to co-create the current meanings and value that drive the actions of the current generation of the specific species that is being envisaged. This is my conjecture, and I further surmise that such interactions play a part in co-creating the current group psychosis that are at play, especially evident within humanity's tribes, whether these tribes are self-selecting tribes or inherent tribes. This shared psychosis drives the tribe's actions within the tribe and also the interactions between other diverse tribes. Psychosis is otherwise known as cultures, otherwise known as cults, both good and bad, with many denying the culture or attempting to shed it. Truth is, we all belong to a cult or culture, even if its membership is one. A psychosis is driven by meaning, be it good or bad, false or true. Any conjecture about the validity of this claim, I assume, will center on whether reality is external or not. As for myself, I can accept this uncertainty, even the uncertainty with my assumption of what the focus will be there. Anyway, onward and upward. Or in other words, life is the expression of the singularity through individualized consciousnesses, and creation of meaning is co-created. I've got to read that again. Or in other words, life is the expression of the singularity through individualized consciousnesses, And creation of meaning is co-creation between self, other, and what is. Balancing the content of what is what life is all about, as it is experienced and explored through the senses and interpretations, focused, filtered, and framed by feeling, emotion, reason, cognition, thought, logic, concern, co-created values, will, freedom, and constraints, and many unknowns. As the power of the mind is being wielded by us puny humans. Humanity's maturing evolutions demands more responsibility to be both developed and taken for the sake and future of humanity and the environment that it depends upon, because of humanity's ability to destroy itself. The only way I envisage humanity not destroying itself is through better understanding and appreciation of self, other, and what is, increasingly and with all due humility. In closing, meaning is the value state co-created by self, other, and what is, and that value state is valued the most in the power exchange that happens within every human interaction, big or small, where the psychological and spiritual currency reserve, rather than being gold, is meaning, mined from our minds, which drives an economy based on a never fully satisfied lust for certainty in knowing what is. This gives new meaning to paying attention, does it not? So it's up to humanity to wield such power for the benefit of self and other, and what is better than previous attempts. Maintaining satisfaction within a degree of awareness of our knowledge-ignorant bubble. This is the great balancing act that humanity has always faced since reaching an unspecified point in its brain evolution, into its continuing development, where instinct became insufficient by itself. Much to digest here. I hope time serves us well as we sail upon the sea of faith, balancing our knowledge and ignorance in the healthiest way possible, as we develop better systems to live by, driven by our intellect and imagination, learning how to change each other's minds for the betterment of self, other, and what is, with the minimum force or encouragement through the power of persuasion via thought, belief, emotion, and communication. Thanks for listening.